Yanze Khenpo Sodargye Zhao Donan Molam Khenpo Ngakya Bangar Dangon Zanto Shirmur Do Tumba Tukji Janla Ki Shamsar Nachar Zergi Shakamsar Jawar Tukji Shando Yila Jime Benzo Zhao Lang Sorande Gurti Toban Pora Shinjilo.
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate beings, please generate bodhicitta before teaching.
Today we will continue discussing the Sigalovada Sutra. Earlier in the Sigalovada Sutra, we talked about 4 types of bonds. There are also 4 kinds of bad conduct and 6 ways of losing wealth. The 6 ways of losing wealth are further divided into 36 methods. These include indulging in alcohol, gambling, and debauchery, becoming obsessed with games or entertainment, also relying on bad friends and being lazy. Altogether, there are indeed 36 methods. Among them, we have already discussed a portion previously. We have already talked about the faults of excessive drinking, compulsive gambling, and unrestrained debauchery. All of these have already been explained. Although in this world some people may not consider drinking to be a fault, some people may not necessarily see debauchery as a fault either, and some people may not think gambling is a fault. But if we look at the true meaning or consider the consequences of engaging in such actions, we will more or less find that there are many unforeseen and profound harms that we can hardly even begin to imagine. In our daily lives, these pervasive and often insidious harms inevitably lead to a multitude of significant troubles and an immense amount of suffering. Therefore, some of the profound and insightful teachings found within the Buddhist scriptures are truly worth our deep and careful reflection. In this significant way, they can indeed be very helpful and beneficial to our daily lives. We often hear many people say that if they had encountered these scriptures earlier, they probably would have taken far fewer detours in life. Because when we were young, we did not encounter the true Dharma, we may indeed have faced many setbacks in life and also created a very great deal of negative karma for ourselves. But then later, through the wise guidance of truly virtuous teachers, we truly abandoned the wrong paths, turned decisively toward the right way, and ultimately found genuine hope. Many people sincerely express such profound sentiments from the very depths of their hearts. So every principle discussed here is also very fair, and when carefully analyzed in a very reasonable way. It is indeed the case that we humans, we truly need to understand these profound truths from many different aspects. This is very meaningful. Today we will begin discussing the topic of indulgence in music and various forms of entertainment and other forms of media in our daily lives. There are also 6 kinds of faults in this regard. The first point is the desire for music, expressed through the act of seeking out and performing songs, whether they are professional singers or simply dedicate their days to passionately performing a wide variety of different songs. These are all fundamental forms of entertainment. The second important aspect is actively seeking dance, constantly engaging in dancing, and truly enjoying all kinds of diverse dances, and having no interest in any other knowledge. The third is seeking musical instruments like the qin and si, which generally refer to certain musical instruments. These are various instruments used in music. Everyone is familiar with them nowadays. The fourth category is bonibe. Bonibe generally refers to ancient dramas and traditional storytelling, as well as various forms of poetry, including classical ancient poems and so on. This broad category also encompasses today's modern television programs and cinematic movies. All of these can be included. The fifth item we are discussing is the duoluopan. The term duoluopan specifically refers to various objects and instruments that are utilized within the realm of music. More precisely, it can also denote handheld percussive instruments such as small resonant bells or elongated bell sticks that are designed to be held and played by hand, along with other similar musical implements. The sixth is shuhena, which refers to drums that we use. All these are different types of ancient Indian musical instruments. There are different categories, and in total there are 6 kinds of faults. Of course, whether it's musical instruments or various singing and dancing performances, these 6 types are distinguished by their forms of activity. If we become truly and deeply obsessed with these 6 kinds of worldly things, if we indulge in singing and dancing all day long and are attached to various forms of entertainment, then there are 6 kinds of faults that arise from this. If elders and their children endlessly indulge in music and entertainment activities together, if individuals are constantly and unceasingly attached to these material possessions and worldly desires, then their family wealth and financial stability will gradually and inevitably be depleted. This is a truth that many people might already intuitively understand and recognize, especially when we consider the realities of our everyday lives and experiences. Most people also genuinely enjoy some diverse forms of entertainment, whether it's engaging in lively singing and expressive dancing, or simply enjoying certain worldly pleasures and captivating experiences. Entertainment activities. If this goes on for a long time, as we often say, indulgence in play leads to loss of ambition. If we spend too much time on these amusements, perhaps our true wisdom and our genuine inner virtue will gradually be eroded. Of course, if we look at today's society, there are probably some people who are very fond of these things. We can clearly see that nowadays many people truly enjoy singing and dancing and engaging in these activities, including what's shown on television and in movies, various audio and video content and all kinds of artistic performances. There are also many such things in our world, indeed, including notable music academies and esteemed film academies, as well as active art troupes and lively cultural performance troupes. Many people find happiness and fulfillment through these activities, and there are also many individuals who make a livelihood from them, supporting their lives this way. This is indeed the case. However, if we speak from the ultimate perspective, for those who truly seek the ultimate truth, indeed, if we spend all day immersed in such singing and dancing, then perhaps in life the things we need to do, the many meaningful things, we will no longer have the opportunity to do them. And as for some very meaningful merits for our future lives, we also won't have the chance to truly accomplish them or even begin to make progress. There simply won't be an opportunity. Some of us might even truly regard it as just like people in the world today. They consider it the most wonderful and amazing thing in the entire world. Perhaps at present it does seem that way. But in terms of our future lives in the future and how we will live, it may not necessarily be so. In the Samyukta Agama Sutra, there was once a person who asked the Buddha, in ancient times there were many people who spent their whole lives singing and dancing. In the end, after they died, because they brought immense joy and happiness to many, many people, they could potentially be reborn into a truly good realm. Is this really the case, though? Then the Buddha was asked 3 times but did not answer. Later, when the person earnestly and repeatedly requested again and again, the Buddha thoughtfully explained that much of our singing, dancing, and musical creations is actually brought into existence with minds full of intense desire, burning anger, and profound ignorance, and then we often become deeply attached to them. What is this truly comparable to? It's like a person being tied up with a rope, and then if you pour some water on the rope, which was already tied tightly, will become even tighter when water is poured on it. In the very same way, we sentient beings are already tightly and inextricably bound by powerful desire, intense anger, profound ignorance, and pervasive delusion, and if we become further and more deeply attached to worldly entertainments, then their minds become more and more bound, increasingly constrained. In the end, they create a great deal of negative karma, and ultimately will be reborn in the hell or animal realms. After hearing this, that person became very sad and started to cry quite profusely. The Buddha said, "Didn't I just tell you not to ask me that? Now you're crying again." In the end, he said, "I'm not crying for myself, but I really truly feel that so many people are influenced by such traditional culture and truly do not know what to accept or reject. I feel extremely sad and deeply empathetic for them." So, in our everyday real lives, people may be very interested and genuinely captivated by various activities such as singing and dancing. However, in reality, if we allow ourselves to become truly and profoundly attached to these particular things, perhaps even our very own minds in this present life will truly be harmed to some extent. This includes how nowadays we may be especially addicted to the internet, especially young people who are constantly and frequently playing video games for extended periods. Here in our classroom, things are a bit better. But sometimes even among the Tibetan lamas themselves, while the teacher is giving a lecture, there are some young lamas below start playing video games. If we don't notice it here, people in other parts of the world have already noticed, because nowadays the world makes it quite easy. So being addicted like this, it may seem to us like a kind of pleasure, like it's a good thing, but in reality it's also quite harmful to our minds and overall well-being. I think it was last year, in 2018, when the United Nations World Health Organization found that if people are addicted to the internet, in fact, it's called gaming addiction disorder. It gradually damages our mental health. It's classified as a mental illness. Nowadays, there are many people in the world who are addicted to the internet and who keep playing video games all the time. There are actually many cases where people have died from such addiction. In today's world, on one hand, there are so many dazzling and colorful things around us, and people who become addicted to these things and die as a result. There are especially many people who die from this kind of psychological illness. If we look back at the last century, or even the century before that, including what we now call depression, and many other psychological disorders, it's quite possible that many people hadn't even heard of these specific diseases back in those earlier times. As a wise person once observed, the 19th century tragically witnessed the highest number of deaths, primarily due to widespread tuberculosis and various other similar debilitating diseases. Subsequently, the 20th century saw a significantly greater number of individuals succumbing to the devastating effects of cancer. And in the 21st century, the highest number of deaths are caused by psychological illnesses. It has become the killer of humanity. So why is this the case? It's because we are exposed to too much. And some of the content we see is deliberately designed by businesses to catch our attention, to attract our interests. So they first conduct various kinds of research, and after researching, they find out what we're interested in, what kind of voices we like, what kind of words we prefer, and then they set up a whole scheme for us. They start by carefully researching, and after that, then once they know our interests, they set up countless traps for us. And in the end, we get caught up in them. Some people become completely unable to extricate themselves in this very life, while others basically sink into it for good in this life. But in future lives, they will always be trapped in the three lower realms. This phenomenon is becoming more and more common. So on the surface, things like singing and dancing, which people long for and find joyful, are not outright denied by Buddhism either. Sometimes, whether in the profound Vajrayana tradition or in the more exoteric schools, we truly begin when we recite the extensive Samantabhadra cloud offering. When the revered Guru Rinpoche was present, we put all kinds of musical instruments. Some people just truly can't understand. Some people in the control room, they often play some popular Western musical instruments. This musical expression is not merely for entertainment, but it is also a profound and deeply spiritual kind of offering to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas through the songs and dances. Then in the Vajrayana, we also have many Vajra songs and dances. Not all forms of singing and dancing should be entirely rejected. It's not quite like that. So some of us devout Buddhists can occasionally listen to various songs or even sing a little ourselves, perhaps for spiritual reflection. Of course, for people like me who don't have a good voice after singing, we just feel disappointed and then never want to sing again. But for those who sing or dance well, it's fine to do it occasionally. However, if you get completely absorbed in it, it probably doesn't have much meaning either, especially when you get truly old. When you grow old, you'll realize that being obsessed with these things, actually a lot of them don't seem to have much value. So for those who used to be especially talented in this area, as they get older and older, they often start to feel a profound sense of helplessness, or perhaps a deep and pervasive feeling of resignation. So for many of us, this can be a truly challenging experience. If you have such a talent, if you have this kind of expertise, I don't think there's any need to give it up. As long as your intentions are good, you can continue. But for most ordinary Buddhists, if you were to spend all day truly immersed in this, you might indeed end up wasting a significant part of your life. So, in this regard, we should be especially aware of it. That's what's being explained here. Next, when it comes to relying on bad friends, there are also 6 kinds of faults. The first is they truly deceive you by various different means. Negative companions will endeavor to corrupt and mislead you through a multitude of insidious and cunning means. Furthermore, the second characteristic is the fondness for seeking out secluded and private environments. Under the influence of bad friends, in the end, even things that are meaningful to you, you end up not wanting to do anything at all. You often find yourself preferring to stay in dimly lit or completely dark places, in secluded areas where you absolutely cannot be easily seen by anyone. Just like some people nowadays who discreetly hide behind the scenes and actively engage in all sorts of truly bad deeds and nefarious activities, doing many things that can't be revealed to others, that kind of thing. This is also due to the influence of bad friends. Many of today's criminal gangs, in fact, and some terrorist organizations, all of these can't be seen on the surface. They may even have a lot of very flowery and highly persuasive words and many beautiful superficial decorations on their outward surface. But in actual reality, in fact, that's not the case at all. Then the third one. The third party tempts his family members. Not only does he truly deceive these people, these individuals, he even deceives his own immediate family, close relatives, and trusted friends. He would deceive all them. Sometimes we encounter people like this. This includes individuals who unfortunately become entangled in various deceptive pyramid schemes, and even their closest family members, along with everyone they know and nearby, ultimately find themselves tragically deceived by these unscrupulous and untrustworthy individuals whom they once considered to be their friends. The fourth type of individual is those who scheme for his personal wealth. Most of them are probably after his valuable possessions. They relentlessly covet his considerable wealth and ultimately end up cunningly swindling all his hard-earned assets away from him. The fifth type is those who seek profit for themselves. And as for these profits, in the end they all go into his own pocket. It's not as if this wealth is used for society or for sentient beings to do something meaningful. If that were the case, we could understand it, but it's not. In the very end, all of it ultimately and completely ends up directly in his very own hands. The sixth type is those who very much like to expose his faults. He is quite often led astray by his bad friends and frequently enjoys pointing out others' mistakes. He often engages in actions that are quite unreasonable and frequently disruptive. So when it comes to bad friends, there are 6 kinds of faults. If elders and the sons of elders consistently and persistently rely on such detrimental and morally corrupt bad friends and do not change their misguided ways, then their accumulated family wealth will gradually diminish day by day. This entire situation is clearly about the destructive faults of maintaining bad friends. The faults of bad friends, whether in the practice of Buddhism and in the broader secular world as well, it is indeed truly very important and of great consequence. Some practitioners, too, are greatly affected or influenced by bad friends. Mipham Rinpoche said, I can't recall the Tibetan wording. If I cannot accurately recall the Tibetan phrasing, I will not quote the Chinese version either. The meaning is that bad friends can indeed truly do us a great deal of harm. As for the various and subtle ways that bad friends might deceive us, on the surface they may seem very compassionate and truly caring individuals, but in reality that's not the case. Some of us, when deceived by bad friends, don't even realize it ourselves. When your virtuous teachers, good friends, are a bit strict with you, then you immediately think they're bad people, and then you follow the bad friends instead. Ultimately, you will undoubtedly come to a realization regarding this matter as well. So relying on bad friends, this is the situation. For instance, the Mahaparinirvana Sutra also says, bad teachers destroy countless good deeds and countless good intentions. Because of a single bad teacher, a single misguided teacher, he could ruin the bodies and minds of countless people. If you unfortunately encounter a truly bad friend, their negative influence and detrimental impact on our lives and well-being can be incredibly profound and extremely significant. Whether it's the effect a bad teacher has on us, the harm they cause is very serious. This doesn't just apply to ordinary worldly people like us. Even some virtuous teachers or sages can be affected. Even the Buddha, in appearance, kept away from bad friends. In the commentary on Dharmapada, Sutra of Emerging Radiance, once, when the Buddha was traveling with Ananda, they saw Devadatta from a distance along the road. At that particular time, the Buddha gently told Venerable Ananda, "Let's take a slight detour. Let's not walk along with him." Ananda, a devoted disciple, found this situation to be quite unusual. He then respectfully said to the Buddha, "Venerable Lord, haven't you already attained the supreme state of perfect Buddhahood? Why then would you be afraid of Devadatta? Why are we taking a detour?" Then indeed, the Buddha told Ananda, "In fact, I have already attained the state of perfect enlightenment. When I was seeking perfect enlightenment under the sacred Bodhi tree, at that very moment, Mara used all sorts of methods to tempt me, sometimes transforming into various animals, sometimes wielding all kinds of formidable weapons to harm me, but he couldn't even harm a single hair on my body. Truly speaking, it is utterly impossible for evil companions to harm me. However, evil companions, in actual fact, do indeed have a certain significant influence on every diligent practitioner. There is still some impact. Therefore, it is best for us to stay away from such evil companions. We should associate with virtuous friends. This is also mentioned in the scriptures. Those who act together in virtue and create goodness together are called true friends. What we typically refer to as friends are primarily our close relatives and familiar acquaintances. But in reality, if someone can truly engage in virtuous deeds, that person can be called a true friend. Those who do not engage in virtuous actions are not called true friends. If they don't help you perform virtuous deeds or accumulate merit, then they should not truly be called genuine friends. No matter if it's your own father or your mother, your older or younger brothers, or your sisters. If these people often create obstacles for you and undermine your virtuous roots and merit, in such a scenario, these individuals may not, in fact, be your friends and family, but could very well be your sworn adversaries, as their detrimental actions have the profound effect of completely severing and extinguishing your wisdom and spiritual vitality. Therefore, in a certain sense, what precisely can we truly call this particular thing? What is a true friend? If someone helps your merit and virtuous qualities to continually increase, that is truly a genuine friend. So sometimes when we are with our fellow practitioners on the path, we should always remember this. We can say that they are our true friends, the closest to us. Why are they the closest? Because from now until the attainment of Buddhahood, you remain inseparable. Such a person can be called your closest friend. Therefore, at any given moment in time, we should indeed distance ourselves from negative influences and draw close to virtuous teachers. Stay away from bad friends and associate with good friends. For a beginner and for a practitioner, this is also something truly indispensable on their path. Some people are not practitioners, but even for ordinary people, it is truly the case that the friends you keep and the people you interact with can really have a significant and profound influence on you. For example, if you interact with someone for a period of a month or two and this particular individual is truly very virtuous and exceptionally wise, you will gradually be influenced by them. On the other hand, if this person does all kinds of evil, you will also gradually be affected by them. Even if it's just for one night, for instance, if you stay one night in a hotel, during that one particular night, the person sleeping in the bed just right next to you, if they are especially diligent and gets up at 4 a.m. to practice diligently, the other person will be influenced, feeling embarrassed, and will quietly peek from under the covers thinking, wow, they're up so early. Then after another day, they themselves will also feel embarrassed and start to get up to meditate or recite scriptures. If that person is especially scattered and undisciplined, lacking focus and self-control in their actions, you will also naturally be affected by their habits and tendencies. So in the days to come, it is very important to consciously rely on good friends who are supportive and disciplined, and to actively stay away from bad ones who might lead you astray. The application of mindfulness of the sacred Dharma also talks about this. Whoever you frequently associate with, you will often become close to them. No matter what kind of person you rely on, if you frequently get close to them, because of this closeness, your actions will inevitably become like theirs, whether good or bad. Because of your closeness to this person, your behavior will either become virtuous or unwholesome. If you frequently and consistently associate with a genuinely good person, then imperceptibly, you too will become a good person. If you associate with bad people, then imperceptibly your behavior will also gradually become bad. This is a natural law. One who is near vermilion becomes red. One who is near ink becomes black. So, the specific kind of people we choose to get close to will profoundly influence us. You may find yourself significantly influenced by their positive virtues or their negative faults. This particular point is explained very well and with great clarity here. If we always associate ourselves with worldly people, it becomes quite apparent as well. For example, some individuals are especially scattered in their thoughts and actions and profoundly unfocused in their endeavors. If someone often wants to be with such a person, what can we infer from this? He is also a scattered person. If someone is especially diligent and you become friends with him, if someone often spends time with him, it clearly shows that his own behavior is also significantly improving over time. Many of our teachers often say, "Oh, a certain student used to be very good, but these past few days, because he has been with this other student, often eating and living together, and because of this, now his academic grades have unfortunately started to decline. Another student of ours, because he spends time with someone who has good grades, has made a lot of progress now." This is generally how it is in schools in our society. Teachers also make such inferences about students. It's not just a contemporary practice here, but also a common approach across many nations in the East. Even in the West, they subscribe to the same philosophy, understanding that one person's impact on another is incredibly significant, and therefore it is incumbent upon us to make a concerted effort to cultivate a close relationship with virtuous companions and distancing ourselves from harmful ones. Next, let's talk about laziness. Laziness also has 6 faults. Earlier, when we talked about staying away from bad friends, it seems that there are some differences among the various versions. In some versions, when it comes to these 6 distinct types of truly bad friends, some individuals are quite fond of drinking and tend to be rather scatterbrained. These 6 types refer to 6 kinds of bad friends. Some versions also present it in this particular way, including thieves and other petty individuals. In some versions, it's quite similar to our own particular version in many respects. But in any case, perhaps it's just different versions saying things differently. When you actually refer to those different versions, you should use your own wisdom to observe. Every single translation should be genuinely beneficial. We shouldn't just arbitrarily pick one and then completely discard another, and there is absolutely no real need to do so at all. There are definitely clear differences in the content of various versions. I mentioned this just the other day as well. Perhaps when the Buddha Shakyamuni was teaching this sutra at that time, if his disciples recorded it, then the later arhats, different arhats, would have designed different notebooks. Some people genuinely see these 6 fundamental faults as all referring to individuals, while others perceive them as referring to people's specific behaviors. Even when we sometimes meticulously organize lecture notes from recordings, there are always noticeable differences. It's just that some people with relatively good wisdom are able to organize them in a much better and more efficient way. Some people don't understand the meaning of the higher teachings at all. But generally speaking, the compilers of the Buddhist scriptures were all arhats and accomplished practitioners. Therefore, in a broad sense, there shouldn't be any major mistakes. However, the Buddha taught according to the needs of different beings, and what he taught to each sentient being was different. So for those who listened and received the teachings, the benefits they gained might also have been different. This is also possible. Therefore, when we encounter different and varied content, it is important to consider, in their various and diverse forms and different versions, we should wholeheartedly accept it with an exceptionally open, broadly understanding. There's no need, like some people in academia nowadays, to use their so-called research and their so-called investigations as a compelling and undeniable reason, a justification for their actions. to claim that's fake, that's an apocryphal scripture, that's unreasonable. Why is that? Is it because of the history at that time, the era back then, the mindset of scholars at that time, or because a certain version doesn't say it that way? They conclude that it's wrong. Nowadays, in many academic circles, they themselves have no faith, nor do they understand what the Buddha taught about the different karmic forces and karmic experiences of beings in the six realms. So there are many aspects that they simply don't know about. They only look at things on the surface, analyzing from the perspective of a more general history or a particular anthropology, or from an academic standpoint like that. When they conduct their comprehensive analysis, there may be certain areas where they still genuinely lack specialized research expertise. If it's not specialized research, it really is a bit difficult. For example, if I were someone who isn't a specialist, an academic in the field of chemistry, I myself wouldn't really understand this field very well. And if I went to study it, after all, I would be an outsider. So when it comes to researchers of Buddhist sutras or treatises, even though they are called researchers, they themselves have never systematically and thoroughly studied it. The conclusions such people reach are, after all, merely the academic opinions of an outsider. Therefore, as Buddhists, we also very much and sincerely hope that we not only consider our own practice and the perspectives of practitioners, but also pay attention to how outsiders evaluate and comment on us. If some of their comments are unreasonable, I think Buddhists shouldn't always just practice patience and think that practicing patience is always good, even when it's not the right time. This kind of thinking is incorrect. But some people say, I want to practice the perfection of patience, I want to meditate. When many people truly think this way, it's potentially possible that some very unreasonable arguments will be used to undermine our efforts. They'll say this scripture is fake, that one is fake, and in the end, we might not even have any space left to survive. We might have been good people to begin with, but then this person slanders us, and that person slanders us. And if people deliberately organize attacks against us, in the end, even a truly good person has no way to come forward. So, in this world, indeed, Buddhists should have a sense of responsibility. What kind of responsibility is this? It's not just about one's own personal practice. It should be about truly upholding the overall image and the profound truth of Buddhism as a whole. As for these fundamental truths, great accomplished masters throughout history have also made significant sacrifices for them. As Buddhists living in this present era, we too have the profound responsibility to diligently study and effectively teach, as well as to carefully protect, widely promote, and extensively spread the sacred Dharma, and so on. I firmly believe that this kind of significant responsibility truly belongs to each and every individual. It's not just for a particular person, just like how the lineage of Chan patriarchs has been passed down. The Dharma transmission is given to him, and only he can carry it forward, while others are merely bystanders. This may not be entirely ideal. So if we truly have the opportunity for a systematic and thorough study here, I think that's a very good and positive thing, especially for many of you young people. Some of you who are attending classes now, or some Dharma teachers, may not be very well known. But when you are still quite young, if you receive a very professional and truly systematic education, then when you grow up and truly become famous and known throughout the world, at that particular moment in time, you should truly possess your own profound inner wisdom. Then naturally you will have the causes, conditions, and ability to spread the Dharma. At that point, we need to look at the world around us. If there are some unreasonable criticisms or attempts to refute us, so how exactly should we approach communication with such a challenging attitude? This is also absolutely necessary, at least that's precisely how I personally see it. Therefore, what exactly are we going to discuss and talk about next? Right, we haven't talked about laziness as of yet. I'm wearing a new outfit today, but the collar is too much big. It's a little bit too much, to be honest with you. Buono. Next, it briefly talks about the 6 common human faults of laziness, such as procrastination. Some people, because they are especially very wealthy and truly prosperous, enjoy pure pleasure and are simply unwilling to completely do anything. They spend all day indulging in wealth, like those who are rich and powerful nowadays. They won't practice, nor will they. Generally, some of us who are wealthy and noble, they are always completely immersed in a state of pure enjoyment. They never go for systematic study. Some people study very devoutly, which is truly wonderful and indeed accumulated merit. Some people, because they have accumulated some wealth, become quite arrogant because of it and simply refuse to learn new things. If they do study, it's just 1 or 2 classes. Some people only listen to classes when they're in a good mood, study a little when they're happy, and then give up again. The second type is those who, because of poverty, are unwilling to practice diligently. The second type, because they are truly too poor, even suffer from severe hunger or can't even adequately meet their most basic needs for food and living. These individuals neither work nor practice any skills. Here, our practice can also refer to working. Generally, when we are lazy, whether it's about work or spiritual practice, we're not interested in anything in the world. Such people are called lazy. The third type is those who are unwilling to practice diligently when it's cold. When it's cold in winter, they don't even dare to come out. They don't even want to attend classes, always like this. Some of our fellow practitioners at Larungar are almost exactly like marmots in the depths of winter, not even daring to come out from under their warm, comforting blankets. It's always precisely like this. They consistently wear very, very thick, heavy, and insulating clothes. Even in summer, they have to dress especially warmly. It's as if they're about to roll down that kind of situation. Even when it's extremely cold, they still refuse to do anything. And then when it's especially hot, some people are also unwilling to practice diligently. Like in Southeast Asia or in India, in those particularly hot and often humid places, it's simply too hot. They're sweating profusely, they genuinely don't want to attend classes, and they don't want to do anything at all. They're also quite unwilling to put in the necessary effort. Then the fifth type is those who are unwilling in the morning, because if it's too early, they might get sleepy and tired, which is not ideal. We see that many fellow practitioners are like this. On Sundays, I observe that many of you appear to have enjoyed a truly refreshing and quite substantial period of rest. It's not just a phenomenon limited to all of you. On that very same day, I made my way to the school campus on Sunday. In our junior high graduating class, there are exactly 60 days remaining until the graduation ceremony now, but among more than 200 students, when I went to check around 7 or 8 in the morning, there were only 4 girls studying outside. Later on, I subsequently used this particular situation as a compelling reason to lecture them. When we graduated from our studies in the past, even though we weren't that diligent, no matter what, whether it was Sunday or Saturday, we were still relatively diligent. But what about many fellow practitioners here? Usually they're not serious. If there's an exam tomorrow, they'll stay up late tonight. This is actually the worst approach, because if you stay up late the night before an exam, then during the actual exam, you'll definitely feel groggy and unfocused. That particular method isn't very good, but if you're lazy and unwilling to study early, as for the sixth type, because it's too late and you're a bit sleepy, you don't want to study, you go to bed early and don't want to read anymore. You just say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. All of these 6 types of behavior are commonly called, in essence, the 6 faults of laziness. If elders and their children are always consistently lazy and unproductive, and in some versions it's not just laziness, but also constantly making all kinds of excuses, using various reasons to justify it, then their family business and accumulated wealth will inevitably diminish day by day. So what exactly is being discussed and emphasized here? It's about the profound importance of diligence and consistent hard work. If you are not diligent, then in this entire world, you truly won't be able to accomplish anything at all. You simply can't get things done in worldly affairs. So for us as practitioners, if someone is truly not diligent at all, if someone is very lazy indeed, then even spiritual practice truly beyond the mundane is impossible. In the Mahayana treasury of the 6th Paramita Sutra, it also explicitly states and says, A lazy and indolent person is useless in all things. A lazy and indolent person, in any case, will accomplish nothing at all. They are unable to do anything at all. Indeed, even feeding themselves might prove to be quite difficult. For someone who is especially lazy and perhaps a bit too comfortable, even engaging in fundamental daily activities such as eating their meals, meticulously washing and caring for their clothes, or diligently sweeping and tidying their own personal living space, I've seen some truly lazy people. Even carrying a simple bucket of water leaves them utterly out of breath and suffering immensely. They are especially and profoundly incapable of doing anything at all, let alone effectively spreading the profound Dharma or diligently handling various complex worldly matters to truly strive and make a concerted effort. They truly cannot even manage the very basics of their own daily life. This is indeed a very serious and significant matter. Therefore, it is essential that we should diligently cultivate diligence. In the process of being diligent, so what exactly should we eliminate? We should eliminate this kind of inherent laziness. As mentioned in the Bodhicariyavatara, there are the laziness of distraction, the laziness of evil, and the laziness of self-contempt. There are different types of human laziness. If every day is spent indulging in trivial worldly matters, this is also a form of laziness. If you belittle yourself every day, this too is a kind of laziness. And then always procrastinating and continually putting things off day after day, tomorrow and tomorrow, how many countless tomorrows there truly are. If it doesn't work out today, I will do it tomorrow. If it doesn't work out these days, I will wait a while longer. Right now, for many of us, the most serious issue is there is an increasingly prevalent and challenging illness called procrastination. This widespread procrastination is becoming more and more severe, impacting a growing number of individuals. According to some publicly available data, for example, among a significant portion of Chinese university students, in the past, approximately 70% of college students had procrastination issues. According to most recent statistics, it is evident that 90% of people now have procrastination. Perhaps it's precisely the same for us practitioners as well. If I want to recite a scripture, I'll just do it tomorrow. If there's something to do, I'll just do it tomorrow, I guess. And then like this, in the end, nothing gets accomplished at all. So now many people say that if there isn't a clear and defined deadline, basically nothing truly gets done. Moreover, we humans inherently have this strong tendency to constantly seek instant gratification, especially in this day and age. We have smartphones, iPads, and all sorts of interesting and exciting things to play with and explore. So we will continue to keep looking at these fascinating things and end up not doing what we should be doing. Instead, some instant gratification monkeys that things shouldn't be doing keep taking control of our time. In the end, we accomplish nothing at all. That's precisely why, in today's highly competitive professional world, many top-tier companies rigorously require a strict deadline for every single task. And these crucial deadlines are extremely precise and meticulously planned. And it's not like here, where you say, do your homework tomorrow afternoon, or hand in your homework in a couple of days. It's not like that. For example, you must just hand in your homework before 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. But for many people, whether it's homework or other things in life, they wait until the last moment to start. They had 30 days, but before that they were just distracted and unfocused. Then, when there's only one day left, they start writing their thesis, handing in homework or doing whatever needs to be done. This even includes some of our volunteers here. When they're supposed to write up some statistics, they never do it in advance. But then when the deadline for their assignment is due tomorrow, they often stay up all night today. This is a very detrimental habit. As for how we can effectively put a complete stop to this kind of procrastinating behavior, on the other hand, we should try our best to observe with right awareness and mindfulness the particularly distracting causes in this world, and we try our very best to control them with great effort. Otherwise, what is the greatest harm to humanity nowadays? It's that we procrastinate, always putting things off. Even our spiritual practice is constantly delayed. Worldly matters are also always postponed. If we keep procrastinating like this in our whole life, there will be many things we simply can't accomplish. If you don't procrastinate and are very diligent, maybe you won't be someone especially successful, but in your relatively short life, you will accomplish many significant things throughout your life. For example, there is someone quite famous and globally recognized in the world now, Kobe Bryant. He used to be a very well-known and celebrated basketball star, achieving immense success during his illustrious career. After he retired from the sport, he still accomplished a lot, including writing his autobiography and many other things. What was the reason for this? He scheduled his time each day with great precision. For example, he would get up at 4 in the morning to work out, and then do whatever else needed to be done. So people just like this, no matter what their personal background or circumstances, they truly don't have any other valid excuses. It's not because it's cold today, or because they're in a bad mood, or because a friend came over, or whatever else happened. There are no such excuses, no matter what. They just keep doing what they need to do. Actually, this is very important. But unfortunately, many of us find it incredibly challenging to manage and successfully accomplish this. So for people like this, whether it was in their professional work environment before or after they retire, or perhaps in any other situation, for example, they still keep improving themselves just the same. If you are diligent while at the academy, but stop being diligent after you leave, or if you are more diligent in the summer because the weather is better, and then not diligent in the winter, or if you are more diligent when you have money and not diligent when you don't have money, or if you are more diligent when you're in a really good mood and not at all diligent when you're in a bad mood, that's not how it is. A truly diligent person, they don't have any of these excuses at all. It's not that they're diligent when they're young and stop being diligent when they're old. Or if you can do it in one environment but not in another, that's not how it works. There are no reasons, no excuses at all. There are no other causes either. But people who are truly diligent like this are extremely rare. Many people, honestly, I've been quite lazy my entire life. They define themselves this way. I'm just lazy. Laziness is my trait, my specialty. If I should sleep, then I sleep. What's said in class has nothing to do with me. I just eat my food when I want to. Right now, maybe a lot of people are mocking me while eating at the same time. Oh, who is this talking about? They say, I'm just lazy. If I don't practice, then so be it. They'll come up with all sorts of reasons. But for some people, maybe there's nothing they can do. It really is like that. They're already set in their ways. But for some people, when they hear this reasoning, they think, yeah, if I keep going like this, maybe in this lifetime, I won't be able to do anything meaningful. Many of the great people in the world, actually, they all have this spirit of perseverance and steady progress, this kind of spirit. Relying on this enduring spirit, they consistently keep going forward without stopping. Here, whether it's those diligently taking their exams or those who are participating in volunteer work, when I look at many people, what's their biggest problem? It's that they simply cannot truly persevere. At the very beginning, almost everyone does quite pretty well indeed. I want to attend this class. I must do this. At first, they're very serious about it, but as time goes on, some people can stick with it for a year or two. Some can last a few months. Some might persist for 7 or 8 years, and then, wow, I've already done this for 7 years. Now it's time to quit, time to retire. What's the reason for this? Because my health isn't good, because it's been too long. Because my hearing isn't good now, because my eyesight is poor because of this and that. I have a lot of things going on. So when it comes to the most important things, I suggest that if you can persist in doing them throughout your life, as long as you don't give up, there should be results. Some people are very smart. Speaking of your innate intelligence, you really do surpass many others. But if you can't persevere, in the end, there's nothing that can be done either. Some people aren't that smart. But if you have a kind of true, real perseverance, the kind of patience like this, with this patience and unwavering determination, you can far surpass them. For example, when we compete, if the course is approximately 8 kilometers, some people run really, really fast at the very beginning. But after just 1 or 2 kilometers, they simply can't go on any further. They can't keep moving onward. But some people, I've heard about relay races outside, those running races, marathons, right? Those kinds of people, they have their own tricks. Some people can't use up all their strength right at the very beginning. Then little by little, by the end, they start to surpass the others. So our whole life is also like a race like this. In this particular process, laziness is indeed a very significant and substantial big problem. Also an enemy for us. It's the same in the process of spiritual practice. Those who keep persisting all the way through, that is truly something great. So in this regard, everyone should also reflect on this. It's best to take a look at how our procrastination is going. There are some things that need to be done and can't be put off again and again. If you keep delaying like this, there won't be much progress. Eventually you get used to it, and once it becomes a habit, there really are some things that become impossible to do. So for some of our fellow practitioners at the very beginning, for example, when it comes to memorization, I see that many of you, when you first start memorizing a few verses, it feels especially easy. Oh, I want to memorize this treatise. And some of our fellow practitioners here have memorized the beginnings of several treatises completely, but not a single one has been finished. For example, the way of the Bodhisattva, entering the middle way, and the root stanzas of the middle way. Many people have memorized 1 or 2 chapters in full, but in the end, very few can actually recite the whole thing. So diligence and long-term perseverance are indeed very important. Next, the Buddha. I'll briefly go over the verses here, just explaining them quite literally. These should be relatively easy to understand for everyone. In the very end, the Buddha explained this profound teaching in the form of verses. Being excessively addicted to alcohol and having many drinking companions, those so-called fair-weather friends, if someone often associates with such people, at first, his considerable wealth and extensive property might still continue to accumulate, and he may possess a substantial amount of financial resources. But if he persistently keeps indulging in excessive alcohol consumption and continually drinking in this manner, and frequently goes to various bars with other companions to thoroughly enjoy himself, then, in the very end, as time gradually goes by, the inevitable result is that all your accumulated wealth will be completely and utterly squandered. Some people who love to drink, as they keep drinking, eventually end up with their families in poverty because they are unwilling to work and don't want to do anything productive, spending every single day, day in and day out, just drinking alcohol excessively like this. Living your entire life in such an utterly pitiful way is truly, truly regrettable and sad. And when it comes to drinking, some people have no restraint, no self-control, no moderation at all. They often enjoy certain things because that's just their inherent nature. When they drink, they might typically go to nightclubs in the evening and party with many other individuals there. During the daylight hours, they frequently go to traditional tea houses or various establishments where people actively engage in playing mahjong and leisurely hang out with all sorts of truly questionable and rather dubious people. As a result, their own bodies fall into degeneration. There are many people who used to be very capable, but later, because of their drinking, some leaders are like this as well. Originally, as leaders among ordinary people in the world, they were very wise and competent, but later they spent all their days drinking and never working properly. In the end, nothing will be accomplished, leading to a state of complete failure. Furthermore, if you continue to associate with harmful companions, you'll never correct your own faults and will frequently slander eminent individuals and monastics. In this way, because of his truly wrong views and beliefs, people in the world also look down on him with profound disdain and openly and harshly rebuke him. Because his behavior is consistently vile and utterly impure, people in the world often cast him out, ostracizing him completely. If he is cast out by people, then people in society will then shun and distance themselves from him. In contrast, had he not associated with harmful companions, people would have showered him with praise and respect. But once you are truly influenced by bad friends, then people in the world simply cannot stand your wrong views and your bad behavior, and there will be a lot of gossip about you. Some of us may think, it doesn't matter whether people praise me or not, but actually that's not the case. If everyone in the world can't stand you, if everyone has opinions about you and rejects you, then in reality, in this world, even just surviving becomes very difficult. But for some good people, nowhere go, they are welcomed by everyone. For people like this, no matter what happens, wherever they live, they are very happy. But for some bad people, because of their own problematic behavior, others will especially reject them. For example, habitual thieves or those who love to drink excessively. People who are like this are truly and deeply disliked by society. This is because if you choose to associate with such individuals, in the end, you yourself will also become tainted in many different ways. Actually, this particular point isn't being explained in the exact sequential order mentioned above. All the content is being discussed together. Then there are those who are addicted to gambling, and also those who are obsessed with external beauty. People who constantly talk only about winning, losing, and intense competition because they associate with truly bad friends, they inevitably become ungrateful and unappreciative of what they have. Earlier, when we talked about gratitude, it was related to reciprocation. They truly have absolutely no sense of gratitude whatsoever. Because of the profound and negative influence of their bad friends, they themselves have developed no genuine sense of thankfulness, nor any real intention to ever repay kindness or good deeds. Also, because their behavior is often extremely impure and morally questionable, people frequently tend to reject them as well. This is primarily because, in fact, people mainly look at whether you are truly useful and beneficial to them or not. Just like Churchill once said, there are no permanent friends, nor are there any permanent enemies, only permanent interests that truly endure. This profound statement is also undeniably correct and holds significant truth. Once an individual is no longer useful or serves a purpose, others won't care about you. And once a person becomes harmful to you, everyone will absolutely reject them. If someone is truly useful to you, then people will certainly treat you as a trusted friend. Especially in this day and age, in today's era, a significant amount of filial piety, genuine gratitude, sincere friendliness, and profound compassion are often noticeably missing. People tend to primarily look at whether something is directly useful or beneficial to them. If it is truly useful and beneficial, no matter if it's a leader or any other individual, it's precisely the same. For example, when it comes to a truly effective leader, as long as they are useful, people will show them respect and treat them well. Now, it's not just some leaders, even many spiritual teachers in various places are like this. When the teacher is useful, you show them respect and treat them a bit better. But once you see that this teacher is no longer useful, at that point you will abandon them as well. This also happens in spiritual circles. Nowadays, it seems that many people are influenced by worldly attitudes. Similarly, this even applies to parents. When parents are useful to you, you treat them well. When they're no longer needed, you cast them aside. So this particular era is indeed quite unique and distinctive. In this kind of situation, everyone should take full responsibility for their own individual actions and choices. This is very important. If you are always indulging and completely lost in the world of fine wine, and you yourself are also experiencing a state of being very poor and financially struggling, but you overestimate your own abilities, just like I mentioned the other day, you are poor, but you still think you are wealthy and you are careless with money. Your possessions are actually very little, but you are especially extravagant and willing to waste. For people like this, what is the final outcome? In the end, it leads to the ruin of the family or even death. Or all kinds of terrible disasters ultimately end up falling squarely on their own heads. For instance, people who are deeply addicted to alcohol every single day, in the end, it really does not benefit themselves. So some of us often, in fact, including even in some modern so-called advertisements these days, the praise for alcohol truly sounds like it should be the nectar of the gods. People who often drink this fine wine are supposed to be very happy. You see, some bottles of alcohol nowadays cost tens of thousands of yuan each. Perhaps in recent years, the overall atmosphere has indeed gotten a little bit better. Otherwise, in the past, just a single meal, the main thing was drinking. If you drank red wine, white liquor, French black wine, and indeed all kinds of alcoholic beverages. Some individuals assert that consuming alcohol makes you healthy, makes you happy. There are many such claims and assertions being made. Some of them might indeed have some truth, and we certainly do not reject that. But for the most part, there's no benefit to your health and no benefit to your wealth either. If you really weigh the pros and cons, the cons far outweigh the pros. Consequently, for us as Buddhists, there are some who, despite being truly devout and sincere in their faith, simply cannot give up alcohol. Of course, for monastics, that's absolutely impossible. If a monastic drinks any alcohol, then for sure, like at a place such as Larangar, you would certainly not be able to stay. But as lay practitioners, if you indulge in the taste of alcohol and drink like that, it may cause a lot of trouble for your own actions. It can truly bring about many, many extremely troublesome things. So, you really need to pay close attention. Next, let us talk about those individuals who particularly like to gamble and play dice, as well as those who frequently drink alcoholic beverages, and those who frequently share other people's prostitutes, and those individuals who often engage in rather despicable and various truly lowly behaviors. For these people, gradually, they are like the moon between the 15th and 30th day, the waning moon. Whether it's their reputation, wealth, or status, and everything else they possess will slowly and gradually diminish. Because if a person truly has all these negative traits, perhaps they deeply love gambling, genuinely enjoy drinking, and also indulge in all sorts of impure and undesirable behaviors, some individuals possess all of these at once. Whatever kind of bad conduct there is, these people have them all. In this case, even if someone was once very famous, very prestigious, and very altruistic, as these behaviors gradually accumulate and all gather in one person, then everything will go downhill. There is absolutely no hope remaining, and no ideals are left to pursue. Even if, on occasion, there appears to be a glimmer of what might be termed an ideal, any aspirations or wishes for the future will ultimately fail to materialize or come to fruition. Next, if an individual engages in consistently bad conduct, in the end, they will experience negative consequences. If you associate with bad friends for this particular reason, both this life and the next will be filled with suffering. Ultimately, you will gain nothing at all, because the harm that bad friends bring us is truly, truly immense indeed. Both this life and the next will be ruined. So what exactly are these particular people truly like? During the day, they are quite sleepy, because they frequently drink alcohol late at night. They are always incredibly busy with all sorts of worldly distractions and pursuits. We often observe that some individuals who love to drink excessively at night frequently find themselves unable to get up the next day, consequently making it impossible for them to go to work. I personally recall knowing a manager right here at Larang. He would drink every single night. In the morning, he would consistently keep vomiting and was always feeling very sick. Then he swore to himself, "I will never drink again. This time I was so sick I almost died. I will never drink again. This time I've really made up my mind. I've made up my mind. I absolutely won't drink." But after a while, it doesn't work out. A friend comes over. I have to drink again. In the end, I don't even know what I become at night, and during the day, it's the same. Then at night, he has even more distracting thoughts. He has more hopes and more wishes. In the end, alone in darkness with no good friends. In the end, it's really pitiful. There are hardly any friends left. Because of this person's behavior, this person's whole character, everything is already clear. Unable to manage household affairs. They can't even handle some things at home. Look at many people nowadays. Some families are always in a state of chaos because the husband frequently drinks. He often comes home in the middle of the night and then gets into loud arguments with others. Ultimately, the children themselves grow up from a young age immersed in an atmosphere of fear and panic, and even after they mature, they are left with a lasting psychological shadow. In the end, generation after generation may be significantly affected by this. So when we use some truly beautiful words to praise various things in this world, there are reasons behind them. But sometimes we should also take a quiet moment to calm our minds and observe things very carefully and thoughtfully. Unwilling to work diligently day and night, truly lazy through the winter and the summer, you cannot complete what you are doing satisfactorily, and you will also ruin your achievements. These people, whether during the day or during the night, because they indulge in alcohol and associate with scattered people, as we mentioned earlier. One is dissolute, one is addicted to gambling, one is addicted to drinking. And just like what we talked about today, those individuals who are deeply obsessed with entertainment, those who heavily rely on bad friends, and those who are very lazy, these are truly very important issues. Many of us here, whether Buddhists or non-Buddhists, should really pay close attention to this. Why do we say that this Sigalovada Sutra is so useful for lay people and for our practice of Buddhism in daily life? The reason for this situation is all here. From morning to night, they are consistently unwilling to take any action. Whether it's winter or summer, whether the weather is extremely cold or scorching hot, they are always just slacking off like this, using all sorts of excuses and distractions. In this way, nothing they do can ever be truly accomplished. Even if sometimes there are some opportunities, in the end, they become distracted and lazy again, and come up with all sorts of excuses for themselves, so nothing can ever succeed. So in this world, what is the best thing? It's diligence. Truly, diligence is very important. Whether it's diligence in worldly matters or in spiritual practice, actually, many people here are really quite diligent. This is indeed a very positive and beneficial development. For a considerable period of time, there are quite a number of individuals who are diligent and hardworking, but there are only a select few who can consistently maintain that diligence over a truly long term. Year after year, continuously, this kind of sustained diligence is also quite rare. This is also mentioned in the Mahayana treasury of the Six Paramitas Sutra, where it says, all fruits in the world arise from diligence. Indeed, all the fruits in this world are truly born from diligence and effort. Greed, anger, ignorance, and doubt all arise from laziness. I really like this profound saying. Indeed, many of the wonderful fruits in our world, many of the significant outcomes and successes in the world also genuinely come from diligence. And as for our greed, anger, and doubt, these too are all born from laziness and sloth. Some people may genuinely wonder, how exactly can greed, anger, and ignorance truly arise from laziness? This is because greed, anger, and ignorance are actually the direct result of not being sufficiently diligent, not being truly industrious. Generally, those who are prone to greed, prone to anger, those individuals who are prone to feelings of suspicion are actually not very diligent. If one were truly diligent, how would there be any time for greed, anger, or ignorance to arise? They would be constantly busy with study, contemplation, practice, or work. So if someone is especially afflicted by the pervasive greed, intense anger, and profound ignorance, the primary reason is quite likely a significant lack of diligent effort. As for the very last verse, if one does not mind the cold or heat and diligently practices day and night, there is no endeavor that will not succeed, and in the end there will be no worries or troubles. Everyone should be able to recite this, or at least remember it. If we do not mind the biting cold or the oppressive heat, and consistently dedicate ourselves to working diligently and tirelessly, day in and day out, then the persistent endeavors of such an individual will undoubtedly never falter or fail. Ultimately, they will completely liberated from all anxieties, worries, and troubles that might otherwise burden them. It's just as the sun and moon do not remain in the sky forever, just like the sun and the moon, they are always moving and changing. There is nothing in the sky that can obstruct them. So if we are truly diligent, as I just mentioned, whatever we do, we absolutely should not make any excuses whatsoever. If you always find yourself making excuses, that is truly not good at all. So whether you are in a quiet and peaceful place or not in a quiet place, as long as everyone truly works very hard indeed, there's nothing in this world that can't be accomplished. At the very beginning, it might indeed be quite difficult. When I previously went to India before I heard about His Holiness Penor Rinpoche, back then probably in the 1960s or 70s, when they first arrived in India, there were absolutely no discernible traces of Buddhism in India at all. Because India was originally a holy land of Buddhism, but later, for about 600 or 700 years, from the 13th to the 18th century, Buddhism had almost completely disappeared. It was entirely gone, replaced wholly by other prevalent religions. When they eventually arrived in India at that particular time, they had almost no resources. Then, in order to build a Buddhist institute, Penor Rinpoche, who wasn't actually very well known at the time, at first he bought some dairy cows and diligently milked them himself. After the milking process was complete, he then acquired a sturdy tricycle and subsequently sold the fresh milk every single day directly from the tricycle. With this consistent effort, he was successfully able to support the daily essential needs of a small, dedicated number of monks. Later, he upgraded that tricycle to something like a motorcycle similar to what we have here. Then, little by little, he eventually had the significant opportunity to visit some Western countries where he was able to raise some money. He came back and started building houses one by one and then established the Buddhist Institute. By the time we went there, there were already several thousand monks. So in the very beginning, his diligence in spreading the Dharma and benefiting sentient beings and his perseverance in this mission were truly unimaginable. This includes Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche as well. When Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche first went to the West, at that time, Buddhism was almost non-existent in the West. But in the beginning, he would plant lush green grass, vibrant flowers, and towering trees together with the Westerners, sometimes even enjoying exciting horse racing with them, and sometimes just spending time together. And then, gradually, as their interest in the teachings grew, they established very small local Dharma centers, and then little by little, all of his centers began to expand and flourish. These centers for spreading the Dharma were set up when we went to the United States, once when His Holiness was giving a teaching. At that time, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche had already passed away, but to his disciples, His Holiness said, "Sometimes I hear about Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche coming here." The stories of how he first began spreading the Dharma here, when I hear about these stories, sometimes I feel especially saddened. I think about how, when he first came to this unfamiliar Western country, he built everything up bit by bit, brick by brick. It was really not easy at all. Sometimes I also feel especially joyful and happy because of his actions, his perseverance,
and his unwavering heart, which are truly incredible. At that time, His Holiness was also at one of our, I think it was a center in Canada, praising him in this particular way. After arriving there were also many significant stories. So for all of us here, whether it's for spreading the Dharma and truly benefiting all sentient beings in the future, or just in our own lives, we should always have a truly diligent and dedicated heart. If we have a heart of diligence, then it should be possible. So for all of us here as well, in the future, don't think, I'll always just stay at Lorong. You shouldn't think that way. For now, we're here to study, but in the future, we'll go to different places, to unfamiliar places, to remote places, among uncivilized sentient beings, to establish the profound teachings of Buddhism, to cultivate one's spiritual path, and to attain genuine wisdom and enlightenment, to truly build Dharma centers, spread the Dharma, and establish Buddhist institutes. Whether or not there will be such opportunities, I'm not quite sure. But everyone should have such opportunities. And as for these opportunities, at least for now, if the environment and all the necessary conditions are not yet mature, if you possess this kind of inner strength within your heart, then it should certainly be possible. If we carefully look at many eminent monks and great masters throughout history, many practitioners, in fact, grew up not in particularly pleasant environments or favorable times, but rather by relying on their own unwavering perseverance and diligent effort, and through their continuous dedication. And by never ever giving up for these important reasons, both in worldly and transcendent matters, they achieved truly great accomplishments. So, for everyone present here, no matter what kind of Dharma you are studying, don't always be thinking only about your own health every day, your own gains and losses, your own reputation, always staying within a small circle, like being stuck in a tiny ox horn and unable to get out. If that's the case, it won't work. Unless you truly want to imitate Milarepa, hiding from the rain inside an ox horn, that kind of thing I am specially allowing. Does this look a bit better on me today? For now, this can be settled temporarily. For the time being, we should definitely adopt this kind of proactive and adaptable mindset. As for our final and most crucial verse, I will personally recite it myself with great care and ensure I commit it thoroughly to memory. From now on, no matter what happens, there is no excuse. No matter what, anywhere is fine. Wherever I am, that is quite fine. Whatever environment I am in, that is quite fine. Whatever era I am in is fine. As long as I am alive in this world, I have no other reason. I am to be diligent. I am to benefit all sentient beings. I will listen, contemplate, and practice well. I will live happily. I can interact with any kind of person. It can be bad people or good people. However, I'm still staying far away from bad friends. All right, we'll stop here for today.
Sonam dei tamse voganya tonne de jana pase kirgana jirano chupai jubun zonen droa droa
ma bandangara badna asadarda ma bandangara badna asadarda Bandangara Banma Sadarda